Author and activist Gabriella van Rij is on a mission to eliminate hatred, intolerance, bullying, and racism. In her book, With All My Might, she shares her story about the pains of being alone, different, unwanted, and not belonging. Thank you so much for being here. And I know it wasn't always like that. There's some joy in your book as well. You were a Pakistani infant given up for adoption in a Catholic orphanage and then adopted into a Dutch family. Mm-hmm. Totally different.
Totally different.
And you were 3 years old when you got there, so you had some sense of who you were. You were just discovering who you were.
I was discovering who I was, but especially just being with them all of a sudden and having a language barrier, which was pretty big. Mm-hmm. So I didn't speak Dutch at all. I spoke a little bit of Urdu and a little bit of English. And so that was number one, is the language. I really felt I couldn't communicate to them. But I think I was really scared.
Right, of course. And then you talked about you had been eating with your hands and they wanted you to use silverware. And it was a pretty strict household.
Yeah, the Dutch are.
And I think that's it, With All My Might. It caused you to sort of dig your heels in. And you talk about your mother wanting to change your name from Gabriella to Ellen. And you said, no.
No, I said definitely no. That would have been the third name change. Because in the orphanage, because it was Catholic, they had already changed the name Nassim to Gabriella, which I actually really like today. But I didn't want to go through a third change. And besides, at 3 years old, you actually really believe that you are Gabriella. You can't change into another name.
And then being there, you talk about then later, fast forward, when people ask you, where are you from? What are you? And you say, I'm Dutch, I'm from Amsterdam. And the look that people give you, you explain, it's very tough to take.
But the thing is, you don't see yourself at all. So for years, I actually thought I was blonde and blue-eyed.
Like everyone else around, but you got the looks and you felt it. You felt that level of racism, you say.
I did, because it's a racism that's kind of, it's more intolerance that kind of continues nonstop. Mm-hmm. Because why don't we accept today that I say that I'm Dutch?
Right. Why are people questioning that?
Yeah.
Instead of saying, but wait a second, you don't have blonde hair and blue eyes.
If I say it, they must know that there's a meaning behind it. So just let it be.
I know that based on your experience growing up and the pain that you felt in that now you are very active in this whole concept of bullying. And we see young people being so mean to one another. And I think your story is to say that it's not different, but now we maybe have an opportunity not to sweep it under the carpet and to do something about it.
I think cruelty has always been there. I mean, of all ages, right? Mm-hmm. Not just children that are being cruel, but adults are also cruel. But the thing is that when I grew up, nobody talked about bullying because I don't even think the word existed.
Right.
And so it was just, oh, boys and girls are mean, and that was about it. It was swept, it wasn't dealt with. I can't say that after the Bully movie that we deal with it either, because it shows in this movie that we're not dealing enough with it. Right. It doesn't matter that on all these segments that we talk about it, the problem is we don't deal with the underlying issue and the underlying meanness and where it comes from.
Right.
And the children today, that's really my message out there, you gotta stand up.
Do you think, though, we as parents have more of a responsibility? I mean, you talk about the difference when you got into that home and a mother who was very rigid and wanting you to conform. And it was like, we just do things this way now. And it's almost like, and you just accept the way people treat you. As parents, what would be a better response? What do you think could have happened that would have made life different for you, that would have made it maybe any easier, if it ever could be easier, to accept the way other people saw you?
Talk. I think we don't talk. We don't, I mean, we know our children, but we don't talk. I'm a parent myself. And don't say that we don't see that our children are unhappy. Mm-hmm. It's a build-up, right? And then all of a sudden, something really bad happens to this child. But slowly but surely, the child gets teased at school and goes quieter and quieter, really does grow totally silent. And one of the things is, I always repeat this word, I learned this from this man who wrote a review about my book. Silence is complicity. Mm-hmm. In bullying, in racism, in every hot topic you can think of. Right. We need to stand up.
So talk to your children at home and talk to the parents of the other kids who may be doing this. It's such a great lesson.
And even if your child doesn't want to talk to you, wants to talk to your sister maybe, an aunt and uncle. There's always someone in the family.
Right. And I noticed from the beginning of your book, you talk about how with your child, I wanted you so much. I remember that moment, instilling that confidence to, you know, a child that's now an adult, but being able to let them know and so get that confidence from inside. Well, it's a fascinating read, and I thank you for taking what was a very painful childhood and turning it into something that is hopefully going to be of use to others in preventing the horrors of bullying. Thank you so much for being here. Gabriella van Rij, if you want to learn more information about her book or her efforts to prevent bullying, you can check out her websites withallmymight.com and weopendoors.ca. For a link, or if you want to watch this segment again, log on to WGN-TV.com/midday.